It's a fear of coffins. There's over 800, oh you sound disappointed, there's over 800 coffins in here. You wouldn't come to Highgate and not want to see a coffin, I would. Anyway, let's go in.
We got the bus to Archway and then walked to Highgate Cemetery. And we paid for the tour, so we had a guided tour around the west side of the cemetery.
Yeah, we saw lots of cool graves, like this guy that got poisoned with radiation by the Russians.
Men fighting Napoleon. You can tell he was a soldier. Look at the entrance there. It looks like a military fort. Can you see the wreaths of victory along the top? Now, if you could go down in there, there's natural light. Look, there's 3 skylights. There's a lovely mosaic floor down there and shelves with 12 coffins on them. Now, a lot of people say light mosaic floor century were caused by tuberculosis. They called it consumption because it basically wastes your body away. They also nicknamed it the graveyard cough because once you coughed up blood, well, you can guess the rest. In there, Egyptian, so the architects thought they want Egypt, let's give it to them. So you've got obelisks, that one's fallen down, that one's pretty good. 4 Egyptian columns, look at the lotus flower, open at the bottom, closed at the you'll notice a strange symbol on every door, and that's an upside down flaming torch. Upside down for death, but the torch is a light because the soul lives on after death. Even the keyholes in here are upside down to show respect. Now, they all look similar, but you can't help but ignore that one, that's this place. So, if you really want to show off without spending a lot of money, put your address up. Show everyone what a smart part of London you're from. So here's somebody from Islington. If you come up here, we go up Market. Sorry if you live in Islington. We're in Bayswater here. It's a fear of coffins. There's over 800, oh you sound disappointed, there's over 800 coffins in here. You wouldn't come to Highgate and not want to see a coffin, I would. Anyway, let's go.
I have.
stand against this wall. Trust me, they're all dead. Or for individual coffins. So sometimes families bought up whole sections here. They're buried feet first, so that when families came to pay their respect, they'd be talking to the head rather than the feet. Now, there's something very odd about all the coffins in here, but I'll use these two as an example because they've fallen apart. Can everyone see that at the back here? Every coffin in here has a lead coffin inside. It was the law. When you die, your body gives off gases. I'm afraid that's what Victorians feared, this gas. They called it miasma, or bad air. And those old graveyards in London with all those bodies close to the surface, they really thought that was poisoning the city. Now, in Highgate, if you're buried in soil, you could be really deep down, big ton of earth on top of you, a wooden coffin, fine. That gas will go nowhere. But they said, hold on, what if you're buried in stone or brick like these are, or the brick vaults I mentioned earlier? Where's that gas going to go? Of course, what they feared, it would fill up the space, either explode or poison, or both. So the law said, if you're buried in stone, your coffin has to be sealed in a lead coffin to stop the gas escaping. In fact, what you're looking at are triple coffins. In there, Clara is in a wooden coffin. That was sealed in the lead coffin. Then all of that was sealed in another wooden coffin. And that's the one you would see at the funeral. You can probably guess triple coffins weigh a lot. Princess Diana, she's buried in a lead coffin. Hers weighed 1/4 of a ton. And we think these probably weigh the same. How they got them up there, I have no idea. He was Scottish, trained in Edinburgh, moved to London, became first professor of surgery at University College Hospital in London. But of course, early 19th century surgery is grim, was grim I should say. Basically, they were cutting things off your body that had become diseased. If they didn't cut them off, you'd die. But there were no anaesthetics. So even if they were sawing off your arm or leg, I'm afraid you were wide awake. One can only imagine the excruciating pain of that. But if you had to have it done, you'd want Robert Liston. Why? Well, his nickname will tell you why. He was called the fastest knife in the West End. He could cut off an arm or leg much faster than anyone else. His record for many years was cutting off a man's leg in 28 seconds from beginning to end. He was don't forget all the tools were handheld, saws and knives and what have you. Quite incredible. Very quick, the pain, yeah, not lasting as long. Also not so much loss of blood. So more people survived his operations than anything else. But the operation that we should all be thankful for, he did in 1846, December 1846. It was a leg amputation, nothing unusual. The patient was a man called Frederick Churchill. He was a butler. His left leg, I think it was gangrene, so badly diseased, it would spread and kill him. So the leg had to go. So nothing unusual. Liston had done loads of leg amputations, but this one was unusual because before he began, the patient was knocked out with the gas ether. So this makes it the very first major operation in Europe to use an anaesthetic. We were copying the Americans. The Americans had used ether already, but I'm afraid British surgeons, a little bit snobby, they called ether a Yankee dodge and wouldn't use it. But Liston had seen an American dentist in London demonstrating ether, and he thought, well, if dentists can do it, why not us? Well, Tom Sayers, he was buried here 1865. You might be surprised at his funeral, over 10,000 people crammed into the cemetery. It was easily the biggest funeral the cemetery had ever seen up to that date. Compare that to Karl Marx, who's buried in the East Cemetery. About 20 people turned up for his funeral. So 10,000, 20, one wonders who the celebrities are. So who on earth is Tom Sayers? Well, born in Brighton, a very rough area of Brighton. He walked to London, that's impressive. He became a bricklayer.
We also saw Michael Faraday.
You charge your mobile phones. Guess what? It uses electricity. This gentleman's camera, I'm sure, has batteries using electricity. The hospitals you were born in, I imagine, had electricity. And I would guess that the electricity plays a big part in your lives. I think I've said the word electricity enough, so we should welcome the father of electricity, Mr. Michael Faraday. In my opinion, one of the greatest scientists ever, not just the 19th century. Now, when I was a teacher, I taught history. I did not teach science. So any questions about electromagnetism, I'm sure these two gentlemen do more about that in school than I ever did. But if not, look it up in Wikipedia. What I know is what Faraday did means we can use electricity today.
There are a bunch of cool-looking graves, and there was like 5 coffins full of prostitutes in.
Yeah, I cut that out.
We walked down to the bus stop, took a different turn, and we got Mackie D's.
We got McDonalds.
McDonald's. I had a very nice 6 chicken nugget meal deal. Very nice. Was it?
Back to Highgate Cemetery, where we visited the east side of the cemetery,
The newer part and the cheaper part.
which has more modern graves and was the most recent for someone to be buried there. We saw the grave of Douglas Adams, who wrote The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
We saw Karl Marx, and we also saw, what was it, Mum? Something Baker, Sam Baker, and Amber Baker. And then we took the tube train to the city, where we went up the Walkie Talkie building. What's the real name of it? This is the real name. Yeah, there we go.
The Northern Line train
got the tube train to Whitehall and we went to the Civil Service Club for dinner.
That's because my mum works at the government and she works with some people.
Change for National Rail Services.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform.
Have a wild ride
And a tiger subscribe.
and a like for them all.
Hey, it's a thumbs up, William. It's a thumbs up. See ya.